Good morning, everybody. Today we are here with Shelley Armato, who has a very different path into this industry. This is Carrie Guest with Strategicom, and welcome to another edition of our podcast. Shelley is a CEO, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am the CEO and co-founder of MySmartPlans. I was, I mean, I was kind of the passenger to this whole idea of construction for many, many years. So my degree is definitely not construction. It's being a passenger, if that makes sense.
Sure. And so, what prompted you to get into this industry?
Well, so my husband he is from a family that they're artisans, so they've only known construction their generations, and so Dominic, whenever he was born, of course, you're going to be in the business. So at 8 years old, he started painting closets. He can tell you this story; it's really funny. But anyway, he was just like painting, and so when he was 19, he bought his father out of his business and became the largest commercial painting contractor in Kansas City. And basically, like I said earlier, I was the passenger. So I heard all of the stuff like, how is the other guy low bid, Dominic? I mean, you guys are doing the same trade and he's 50,000 lower than you. I mean, that doesn't add up. And so we just started talking. In construction, you develop like a third arm to manage your life, and then you have nothing's really effective. It's just like there's always chaos and confusion. So my husband came to me and he said, "Okay, I've been doing this for 45 years. I want to retire. Let's open a blueprint company. It can be woman owned, and then we get all these contracts because it's a woman owned blueprint company." Well, at the time, I had a real estate and mortgage company, so I was disrupting. This is funny. I looked like back in my history, I've always been a disruptor. So I was disrupting the mortgage industry because there was so much fraud and people were getting ripped off. And I'd been a realtor for 15 years, and I was just like, okay, this is so sad what happens in the mortgage industry. And so I started a mortgage school. I started teaching realtors about what to look for. Anyway, so whenever he came to me and said, "Here, you need to write this check for $15,000. I'm going to purchase all this equipment in this garage, and you're going to learn how to print, and we'll have this side business." Anyway, so we had all this equipment in this garage, and so at night he would come in and we would get an order from one of his architect friends that said, like, "Here, Dominic, your poor pitiful wife's going to start this little business, like a pity thing here." And so we quickly realized, well, we don't even have all the documents we need to print, but we're supposed to print them anyway. And so we would call back the architect or the engineer or the general contractor and say, "Hey, we're missing all these sheets. What do you want us to do?" And the answer would always be, "Well, just go ahead and print and we'll catch them later." So that was alarming to me because, like, I don't get inefficiency. Like, I only play inefficiency. I love organizing. I mean, it could be a dysfunction, but I love to organize. So we started keeping this algorithm of missing information. And so we started kind of, if you will think, like posting it on what we had as what would like be a sticky board. And so we're like, "That's really cool. I wonder if we did that electronically, what that would look like." And so we started putting together the pieces of the puzzle for construction projects. And Dominic, his first word was, "Oh my gosh." So no one has the same information, but I'm bidding these projects because the general contractor would a lot of times, give him access to their site or a site to bid the documents. Or a lot of times they favored him and they would bring him plans like, "Here, Dominic, here's the plans. I'm going to run them over to you. Will you bid this?" And being the Dominic and every other subcontractor, you're like, "Oh yeah, not a problem. I'll bid this. I mean, I have a little bit of favor because I know this person or whatever." Well, so Dominic started getting mad. He's like, "Okay, I've been bidding all these projects. I'm low bid, but I'm not fair bid. This is not a fair bid. This is crazy." So we searched high and low for the best developer that we could find, and we found this genius. And he came in with us, and he started putting together this process that we've now developed. And so we're transforming the industry with knowledge. So we're the only people. So the fun thing is that, a lot of times people sit down and write a business plan. Page 7, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Well, our business plan was, let's figure out the problem. There's a huge problem. How do we figure it out? So we just started this process that we were the only people that could populate our solution. So it would come through us and we would read it, organize it, archive it. We would link all the cuts to all the details and we would go back to the owner and say, hey, we're missing 17 sheets or we're missing these cuts. What do you want us to do? And so we started what we now call the audit trail. And so we would go back to the owner and say, here's all the missing documents. These are all change orders that are coming at you. And it's been like an amazing journey. So now that was 2007, our first project. We started our garage business in 2006, and we just landed the Air Force, the Corps of Engineers. We're going to be building everything defense health for the Air Force, and we're like hyper focused on helping people make great decisions and build faster, mitigate risk. And so we're transforming the industry just from solving problems.
In this industry, just as a whole, whether it's data centers or airports or whichever piece and parts of it, there's a lot of pieces and moving parts. And
Yeah.
just keeping up with that information and who owns that information and what the latest revision is, it
Yes.
is really tricky. And, in a lot of cases, the documentation that starts out at the beginning of a project ends up being the as-built and the move forward
Yes.
plans, which, in this industry, there's no shortage of little intricacies there.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that we also did that, again, wasn't page 7 of the business plan, at the end of our projects, we would take all the data, the as-built, all the warranties, the King schedule, which I was intrigued by the King schedule, and then we would box it up in what we call our black box, and then we would turn it over to the owner and say, here, Mr. Owner, here's all the documents that were used to build your project. And again, we didn't even realize all the things we were solving until we were like 2 years in going, oh my gosh, we just built this, actually built a lot of data centers. This thing just finished 2 months ahead of schedule and we saved the owner $1 million. Wow. What are we doing? You know what I mean? It's like wow, because we were coming in from the perspective of the subcontractor. And then ultimately it's transformed, like everybody has the same information at the same time. It's organized, it's archived, it's bookmarked, it's time stamped. Like the email archive, it's priceless to have all the emails in one place with a click of a button. If there's ever litigation, it's 2 clicks away. It's a completely discoverable file. And I joke all the time, like, I really need to be an insurance agency because, we're mitigating the risk on these projects, but I don't have background in that, so I don't see myself doing that. But who knows?
Well, hey, there's always a
Yeah,
sideline business that can be built,
I
right?
know. Well, it's kind of like the sticky note. They said that I was reading about the sticky note. It was accidental. Like they figured they used the glue for something else. They're like, wait, look at this. So they created a sticky note, and it's been that kind of process for us because every project we go to, someone will say, can you, will you? And, my answer is always yes, because we come back to our developers that are all in house and we say, okay, this is what we found out today. What can we do about this? And then we figure it out and then we deliver that to the next project. So we're always doing best practices moving forward because every project has a little piece that we need to track, and so that's how we've built our company. It's just so much fun to sit down and look in the rearview mirrors, just like, what did we just do? Because you don't
Right.
stop along the way and be like, oh, you know what today we're going to do? No. Today we're going to do is we're going to find another client, another person that wants to be organized and understands the power of organizing these processes and keeping everyone on the same page because no one system talks. There's a million different boxes out there. It's whether it's Procore, ProLiance, STEAM. There's a million, but it's all user dependent. So like the plumber has to go and also be a document manager. And so we say, let the plumber be the plumber. And so that's what we're doing.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about, being a woman in the construction industry. Obviously,
Mm-mm.
there's not a lot. There's not a lot in
Uh-uh.
IT as a whole, definitely not in the data center industry. So,
Yeah.
you know, obviously that's not your first degree for sure.
Mm-mm.
So, tell us a little bit about that path and journey and how you've gotten to be so successful.
Well, so of course I don't tell most people that we're a woman-owned business because then I'm treated like, oh, you're not selling hammers or screws or like it's kind of like this. Oh God, another one. Because there's this perceived thing that the man's running the business, and you're just kind of a front. And so we never talk about that until we get the project and we're like, oh yeah, by the way, you need a certificate because otherwise they put us in this category of people that are selling hammers and screws and environmental and like I'm like, no, we're not doing any of that stuff. But we can help you, organize that if you need organized. So I learned quickly. I led when I first started. I thought it was going to be so exciting to have a woman-owned, certification. And I mean, I'm looking at now doing or not a universal, but a certification that covers all the United States. But no one ever really asked us to check that box. So, we have our certifications, but it's another full-time job, honestly, to track all that stuff. So we just don't lead with it. It's just a thing. And even on LinkedIn, I'm like, okay, I'm the CEO, but don't hold it against me. I mean, it sounds terrible to say, but it's true. But I was looking the other day on there was a LinkedIn thing, and they were showing, this general contracting was holding this summit for healthcare construction. There was not one person of diversity on that panel. And I, of course, on LinkedIn, I'm like, excuse me, you guys are missing a little something here. I've built the largest hospital in the country right here. She's sitting here, but I wasn't invited to the party because I'm disrupting all those people's jobs. I mean, like I can hold, no, I can't. The documents hold you accountable. And when they're organized, then it's accountability that's happening. So I don't want to tell all the stories, but let me tell you what, whenever I run my Netflix series, it's going to be like the stuff is going to come out because I've been called names. I've been talked down to. This one project, this guy's like, well, you need to wear a St. John knit if you're going to come in here and sell to us. And I'm like, I wear jeans every single day to work because I'm working. And if you need a St. John knit, hang on just a second. I'll go rent one from Rent the Runway or something. But I'm not a St. John knit girl. I don't fit the profile of like, this. I don't even know what. I'm just like, this is what I'm wearing. This is what I do. I'm bringing the best practice to your project. And if you want accountability and transparency, I'm the only one that does that. So I don't know. Do you need me to have some knit on? Okay, I can do some knit. I can put on extra makeup. But like, this is not even about me. This is about what we're solving. So it's been really funny. But I do have a couple dresses in my closet. And I do not ever want to wear them again because I cannot walk in heels. But you never know what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can put them on. I just don't want to.
Yeah. It's been difficult for a lot of women coming up in this industry, but especially through some of the construction trades. And I think, it's really important to note that you can get there. It's all about the journey and kind of not conforming and not taking no for an answer. And, the stuff that you guys are doing. I mean, you're really changing the way the documentation is done and you're holding people accountable through that documentation and through that paper trail, which really, hasn't been done in the construction industry. There's this big giant handoff. And once the stuff is handed off, the next guy may or may not even start with the right documentation. He might start two revisions back and then,
I know.
Then there's delays and all kinds of stuff. So
we were in Mountain Home starting our first project for the Air Force, and Blake, one of our project information managers, was with us. And Blake got a phone call from Steve on this big project that we're on, and it's so funny because when we start a project, we're really not welcome at the table because it's just like, what are they going to do? Whatever. So of course we always just pull ourselves up a chair, and do our thing. And once we start organizing everything, they're like, okay, we can't live without them. So anyway, this is a funny story. So we're in Boise, and I had never been to Idaho, which, wow, okay, it's beautiful, but I mean, there's nothing, it didn't seem like there was anything there. There's no longer potatoes. They're selling sugar beets. But anyway, so Blake gets a phone call, and Steve says, hey, Blake, I got the plumber in here, and he's building on a set of plans that are 2 weeks old. Can you add him to the dashboard? And so Blake said, one moment, pops open his phone. He's like, blah, blah. Actually, he was added in July. He just didn't update his dashboard. He has everything he needs. Steve said, oh my gosh, Blake, you just saved me so much money. So anyway, it's those kind of things that happen every single day, but it's kind of like you don't even know what you don't know until you start finding out. You know what I mean? So anyway, we have so many funny stories, but they just, that's just what we do. So it's an adventure.
Yeah. And I think anytime you start a new endeavor, it's sort of a leap of faith, right? You think that,
yeah,
you're solving a problem. You got to figure out what the problem is. And then, like you said, it's an iterative process. There's no, well, we're starting out with this and this is going to be perfect and it's going to be everything that we do. And
Yes,
I
I
mean,
know.
things change and this industry changes and the players involved change and
Yeah,
there's no singular way to do things. And I think just having that sort of overlap around the construction industry where people are, supplying you with the information and you're just making it
organizing it.
accountable and
Yeah,
organized is pretty
yeah.
invaluable.
Well, and the thing also that again, like you said, whenever we started, we didn't have this like 22-page business plan and page 7 was this. The thing that we keep on uncovering is, I mean, no one wants to talk about corruption, but it's real. It happens. With us, it can't happen because no one can change documents behind the owner's back. I mean, meeting minutes are priceless. If you don't have your meeting minutes and they're organized and they're vaulted, you're setting yourself up for massive change orders. One of our projects we were on, it was a $10 million change that the general contractor sent us new meeting minutes. He said, I need you to replace these from 6 months ago. And so, of course, we go back to the owner because we don't change anything. We don't make any decisions without an instruction. So we're basically the concierge. But we sent it to the owner, and he said, interesting, they were setting us up for a $10 million change order. Oh, okay, so you don't want us to change this. No, you don't need to change that. But I mean, it's that kind of stuff that we're just like the control tower for every project. I mean, we know what's coming in, we know when it's coming in, we're organizing it, archiving it. We link all the cuts to the details, and so we find about an 18% variation just day one of us being on a project in the budget because there's all this missing information that the owner doesn't know. He's just assuming it's there because he's had to. Well, we say now trust and verify, like it's right here, click the button. So again, it's ever moving. I mean, the thing we're looking at now is the data that we have, the big data. I mean, what I would love to do is be able to create a Google, if you will. I mean, not that I'm Google, but I mean, can you imagine if you were building a data center in Atlanta and you're building a data center in North Carolina? Yeah, the ground is the same, but like what kind of windows did they use and what kind of warranty did they get on that roof? Because my warranty here is different. And why is my warranty different? And did it meet the specifications, or how many change orders did they have there, or what was the square footage of that facility? So that's what I'm playing with in my mind right now is just like how do I make that next thing happen, because that's priceless. I mean, like best practices. What did they do? How did it work? I mean, it's a priceless process that everybody can benefit from. It's a win-win for everyone. So that's my fun thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of tricky because a lot of people like to keep that information very proprietary. This is what we did and how we
Yeah.
decided to do it. But then the engineers and consultants do the same thing on the next project and the same thing on the next
Right.
project. And there's
Yeah.
nothing really that ties it back to overall cost of construction,
Yeah.
value in a year. When's the last time that it failed, mean time to failure and mean time to repair. And even through the operation side in the data center, there's a lot from a power perspective and cooling perspective. How well is this equipment really operating for us? There's
Mhm.
a lot with modeled PUE, which really doesn't do anything other than give marketing people something to talk about, but
Yeah.
really to be able to hold that back accountable and say, all right, for the last 5 years, this piece of equipment has cost us X. But if you
Yeah.
have that information from the construction all the way
Mhm.
through, that
Mhm.
definitely would facilitate some of those decisions.
Yeah, so I mean, keeping the warranty information is just a priceless thing also. I mean, what kind of window did you put in, because we're tracking all submittals, we're tracking every piece of documentation, whether everything is tracked and it's in that black box. But I mean, oh my gosh, I could talk for hours about. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, it's been crazy what owners don't know, but they are trying to have peace of mind. But you can't have peace of mind. You can only have anger because, like, how did we get here? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did we get here? Okay, well, this is how we got here. This is what this looks like. Here's why this change order happened. I mean, even the RFI process. So we just landed the state of Kansas, and we were doing a presentation, and the way that they do their reviews, I mean, it's like it's still the Romans. I mean, like, here, mark it up, print it, put it on a thumb drive, answer it. No, it's all right here. Click the button. This is what was said, what, when, and where. I mean, that's what we're doing. It's so amazing. So when we go in and it takes sometimes few a little bit of time, like the Air Force was 8 years, the Corps of Engineers, because they were holding on tight, like, oh no, we've got this figured out. But you don't. So anyway, I mean, sitting there and like watching the light bulbs turn on is just so amazing. Just okay, look, this you can still have a job in construction and still have a family. Imagine that. It isn't either or anymore. So, I'm on a
Yeah, and I
mission for
think,
family.
like you said, just being able to track warranties and
Yeah.
user manuals and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff that can get misplaced, displaced, or, I think it's really important to have that paper trail of everybody that's touched it and worked on it
Yes.
and,
Yeah. Well, and a
all
lot
the
of times they have,
correspondence.
I'm sorry, a lot of times, they want minority participation, which is a screaming shame for me because they don't, a lot of times the minority contractors, women, don't have the capability to track all the documentation, which is kind of set up like that. Here we'll send it to you in a PDF. I don't want your PDF. No, 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 no. I want to be in the same circus as everyone else, which is what we do is bring them in this. I mean, I call it a circus, but it is a circus kind of.
It is a circus, yeah.
So, it's like, no, now you can hold everyone accountable. It's not just the finger pointing. Well, he said this, that. No, no, it's right here. Click the button. Just click the button. And so that's what we're doing. It's 2 clicks away. 2 clicks to knowledge.
That's
So
really great. So your insights were awesome. I absolutely appreciate you participating in our series. And for anybody that wants to learn more about your company, what's your website? And we'll also put a link under the webcast.
thank you. Our company's called MySmartPlans. It's just as it sounds, MySmart, SmartPlans.com. And this is probably not protocol, but I mean, I love for people to call me and talk to me about their challenges. So my direct line is 816-479-0261. I am a very involved CEO. I mean, we have a one-ring phone policy here. When the phone rings once, we answer it, we solve the problem. So, I mean, I would love to, discuss like any challenges that are something that maybe we can help with.
Awesome. Well, that was great. And I sure appreciate your time today. And for everybody listening, we thank you for listening and look forward to the next series.
Thank you very much.